Hello and welcome to another Arctis video and to a new 2 million credit time trial challenge on Gran Turismo 7. This time we are at Willow Springs, Big Willow, and we are driving the 1952 Mercedes-Benz 300 SL on comfort medium tires. This is a really old school car on slidey tires. Some might not like this, but I find this car rather fun to drive. And this is my first impressions of this time trial. I did an hour to see how far I could get, then I got stubborn, tried a bit more. And this is the highlights from the time trial session. And if you are enjoying the content, please feel free to hit the like and subscribe button. It is highly appreciated. Now let's jump into my first attempts. This is very early Friday morning. I couldn't sleep last night, so I decided to just get up and jump into sport mode and try this one. I'm collecting my prize for the previous time trial. I am also barely hanging on to gold in the Road Atlanta time trial, but now we're jumping into this one. And we are having a look at some brake markers, so just ignore my driving. This is my first lap, so there are plenty of mistakes, but we're coming up towards the 100 board. We're braking just short of the 100 board. You can just stay in 4th gear. I'm down to 3rd gear, back up to 4th gear, and just lining the car up for the exit. Now we are coming up towards this right-hander. There are some sand marks on the track and also this green and white concrete thingy up there. Just trying to stay narrow, and you can see a mast on the mountain back there. Once that is at the center of the screen, you can get on the power. And now we are coming up towards the left-hander, and you are braking well before the 50 board, but that is the marker I'm looking at. And now down to 3rd gear, just try to keep the car stable, almost just coasting through that corner. And almost no braking coming over the top of the hill, just trying to keep the car balanced and be careful as you come on the power. Here you've got the start of that curb. That is your brake marker, and I'm trying to cut a bit. I'm sliding a bit as well on the exit. That's going to cost you some speed. But we are up to 4th gear, and now it's just flat out until we get to the final corner. And once we are approaching the final corner, we are trying to stay narrow. Then I try to bring the car out towards the 250 board, and then the 200 board is my brake marker. I'm doing plenty of mistakes now, and now you'll see in the far distance from my car, this is where you want your car to be, right there. If you get the car lined up towards that part of the apex, you will get a good exit. I didn't get that. We are doing a 136.514. We carry on, making our way through turn 1 in 4th gear, touching the grass. That's going to cost me some time. Keeping the car narrow and just being patient. And you can see that mast in the background. And right now we are going past, right now, that small piece of shrubbery or that small bush there. That's a good marker for me, at least, to know when I can be fully back on the power, and that's where I want to be closest to the inside. Now we're coming over the mountain, basically just lifting off. There was a tiny bit of braking, and also that green and white concrete thing, that is your apex point for that corner. Now we are coming through this rather tricky section, and still a bit of sliding going on, so not the best exit, but we are gaining on our previous lap. And yeah, I'm bringing the car out towards the outside at the 250 board, braking at the 200 board, and once again the car is almost running away from me. I am way too wide, but I get the car, no, not really. I got the car lined up a tiny bit better, but still touched the outside down to 136.069. We carry on, making our way through turn 1 in 4th gear, staying on the track, not touching the outside this time, and just keep the car narrow, stay narrow, be patient on the throttle. We see the mast in the background and the small bush on the inside right there. We can get fully back onto the power, and looking for the 50 board, braking well before it, down to 3rd gear. Just let the car coast in, carefully back onto the power, and also just letting the car coast around. I was being a bit hesitant so not the best exit. I was fighting the car a bit there, but we are gaining. And just be careful with the weight transfer coming down the hill. It's easy to unsettle the car. We are back on the power up to 4th gear, and now we are towards the end of the lap. We are coming into the final corner. We are still going to miss that final apex, but not as much this time. See, I'm trying to bring the car towards the inside so I can hit that inside camber. It's so easy to just run wide on that final corner, but we are still gaining. Now we are down to a 1:35.003, so that was a big gain. And now I'm just running out of talent or luck, just take your pick. Either way, I am going to run off the track, so we are parking the car. And that is a goal time. We've only done 8 minutes, but I need to improve this. So we are going straight back in. I'm going to slide a bit too much into turn 1, and that's going to cost me some speed. This car is not that powerful, and you only got those few gears to use, so you just need to keep up the momentum. I think we are getting an okay run up the hill and onto this back straight. It's not really a straight, but it's a full power section. I am fighting the car a bit once again, not to run wide, trying to bring it towards the inside. I am getting closer every time I go through that final corner, and we are gaining towards the line, and we are down to a 1:34.598. I tried to keep going, and I actually managed to stay ahead the entire lap right until the final corner, where I'm coming into narrow this time, and that will just throw the car off the track if you don't get the line right. And yeah, that's me off into the sand. So we've done 19 minutes now, and we are just going to carry on. We are coming into turn 1, braking just before the 100 board. Just be patient, let the car coast in using that inside camber. I'm touching the outside, that's going to cost me some time. And let's see, can we keep the car steady in towards this twisty bit. Just lifting off and just trying to adjust the angle and just keeping the car in balance. And really be careful with the weight transfer. That's also why you need to brake early coming down the hill, otherwise the car will just get all out of shape. Now we are coming up towards the final corner. There's the 200 board. Slowing the car down, trying to bring it towards the inside. I want to hit it right there. I didn't hit the apex, but I got the car lined up better this time, so we are down to a 1:34.183, and a couple of laps later I unfortunately run off the track. Now we've done 27 minutes, and yeah, we just need to carry on. On lap 6 on the following session, I finally get somewhere again. This is already starting to get a bit tricky. We are coming up towards the right-hander, turning in a tiny bit of braking just to keep the nose in, bringing the car out maybe a bit too much, but I get the car lined up, and there we are passing that tiny piece of shrubbery, and I'm unfortunately almost overshooting this left-hander. You can see I am going a bit too sideways. I'm losing a lot of speed. You really don't want to go sideways in this car. You'll just scrape off way too much speed. But we are still up on at least the best time in this session, and we're coming down the hill. Let's just keep it steady, coasting through the corner and carefully coming back onto the power. Once you are in a tiny bit of sliding, just be careful coming back onto the power so you can slowly get that sideways moment turned into forwards motion. And can we find an apex? Yeah, getting ever so slightly closer every time, and we are getting towards the line. You can see we are gaining some time, and now we are down to a 1:33.971. So finally in the 1:33s. And I think, yeah, this is the end of this. I'm running off the track, so we are parking the car. And yeah, that's 40 minutes of driving, finally in the 33s. We keep going. Now we are coming into turn 1, just keep the car steady, carefully coming off the brakes and coasting through the corner, back onto the power. Touching the outside sand again, that is just going to lose me some speed. We are going to jump straight to the end of the lap. This time I find the apex at the right angle. I still need to lift a tiny bit, but that's sort of the angle you want for that one. And we are down to a 133.875, and finally on lap 5 on this same session I'm going to improve a tiny bit more. We are gaining slightly now, coming through the long right-hander, bringing the car out a tiny bit so we can line the car up for the exit so we don't run wide. Right at the exit there's the small bush, we can get fully on the power and know we will stay on the track. And looking for the 50 board. Let's not overcook this. It's okay. Actually, I was getting scared it was going too sideways over the hill. Just lifting off, balancing the throttle to keep the car in check, and braking early. Make sure the car won't get unsettled too much. A bit of sliding, but carefully coming back onto the power so I can convert that slide into some forward motion. But you can see that sliding back there, that lost me some speed, and I'm losing time again now. Can we, I got a bit of a wobble on there, but we are trying to line up the car for the exit, and this time I actually touched the apex at the right angle at the right time. Still losing a bit of time though, so maybe it wasn't that perfect after all. We are only down to a 133.827, and that was my best attempt within the first hour. And maybe I should have just left it at that, but I wanted just one more improvement. Well,
one eternity later,
or something like that. This is the final run, and I'm not going to cut this lap. We're watching the entire thing, making our way through turn 1, and you can see the delta is red because the lap before I did a really good turn 1. Not as good this time, so I am a tiny bit down on my time, but I plebbed it on the previous lap, so we are going to gain that back. We are making our way through the long right-hander. Now we are looking at the 50 board, braking well before it, just trying to keep the car steady, coming over the hill. We are just going to lift, maybe brake a tiny bit just to keep the nose in, and yeah, I touched the inside maybe a bit too much, so I got a bit of an unsettled car on the exit. Just keep the car steady. That's a bit too sideways. Now you can see I was losing a bit of time, but now I'm going to gain it back because the lap before is where I started to make many mistakes. So now we are gaining time again. We are coming up towards the final corner, staying towards the inside, but now we are slowly bringing the car out towards the 250 board, looking at the 200 board, getting the car slowed down and trying to bring it towards that rather late apex, and we are at least getting close to it, and we are not touching the sand on the outside, and you can see I am gaining massively compared to the previous lap, and we are down to a 133.758. So I tried a bit more, but the lack of sleep was getting to me, and yeah, that was a proper rage quit. So we're leaving this for now. This will do for now, for sure. It's a decent time, and if and when I'm going back, it will be in VR because I need to try this really nice old school car in VR and at least try to match my time on some of the other accounts. I hope you enjoyed this video, found it entertaining, maybe even somewhat useful. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you next time. Bye bye.